Terrific, it was. Alright, that should clear it up. Oh, we've got a nice little audio delay as well, which is good. That's strange, there should be no audio delay. I think I complained about this. Complained about this on Twitter because yeah, there should be no audio delay here, and I feel like every time I open XSplit, the circumstances are different. I complained on Twitter about this, and XSplit immediately replied me saying, like, have you considered using our 24-hour support? But truthfully, I don't know. We're gonna just, we're gonna have to live with it for today. It feels like every single time I do this, it's different, and, you know, it's just gonna have to be the way that it is. So I'm gonna take these off. Gonna mute that guy. All right, at least I can hear myself again. Actually, I can hear too much of myself. It's been a while. You know, part of it, like I said, part of it is just the infrastructure of streaming. This should be easier. These tools just aren't great, and every time I open XSplit, some new problem. It doesn't help that I keep changing my PC configuration. So I've sort of like inadvertently broken and fixed my PC several times since the last time I streamed. One of the things I did is I upgraded to a 2080 Ti, which was probably a waste of time, given that it's not great. Hello. First time fetching a stream. Oh, nice. This is a weird time to stream. It's the middle of Saturday Pacific time, which is not ideal, but kids are out of the house, so it's a good time for me to stream myself. And I think majority of people watch these on after the fact anyway. So I'm kind of streaming often just talking to myself. Now I'm talking to you, with the idea that if people find it interesting, they will see it after the fact. So let's switch stuff here. And so today I want to build this M60-A. Let's see. Let's just tweet about this. Make sure this link actually works. if that works. It does. Okay. So M60-A, I actually have two of them. I have the Lake, and I have Kuro. It's like Kuro, which is the black version. Black's got the, let's take these. This part here. Oh, they're heavy. Black's got the nice polished silver, PVD coated polished silver. So pretty. Set this down without scratching it. And Lake is blue, and I can't really tilt this because these caps are sitting there, but this has got the gold / brass. It's very pretty. Lake looks very light in your lighting. Yeah, keep in mind that's because there is a light, like literally directly above this, that's very bright. In person, it is less light than that. It's unfortunate, like color matching, you can see like the color tone of the stream is actually a little off as well. I'm trying to white balance, but there's a bit of a daylight situation / my LED studio lighting is all tuned to 4600, which is sort of like a happy medium. So you can actually tell based on these yellows that this tone is a little off. Similarly with Karbon on here, this Karbon is not nearly as red, it's a little more orange, and this yellow that you're seeing as more of a, I don't know, almost, I guess sunflower yellow is actually a little tiny bit more orange. So keep that in mind. But the lake in person is not as light, especially this part that's getting hit by that light. Let me see if I can, I would say that is closer to the real color of it when I tilt it away from the light. So it is definitely more, it's deeper in person than being hit directly with this light. That being said, it is not as dark as I was hoping, design-wise, because I think that the images that Rama had on his site were a little bit richer, a little closer to navy than this actually is. This is a tiny bit more blue than I was expecting, and the downside of that is I've had a hell of a time finding caps that I think actually look good on it. Because it's such a specific color. I've got these, this is Serica, a GMK Serica that's sitting, these are just sitting loose in here. I was just sort of testing it out. I think that's what I may end up putting on it. I was hoping that I would actually have been able to put Nautilus on, GMK Nautilus, which a lot of people did. I don't think it looks good. The blues clash. A lot of people put it on and took photos of it for Reddit and whatnot, and it looks better in photos than in real life. Like I put Nautilus on there as a test, and in person it doesn't look right, it clashes. But in photos it looks good, so I don't know. I think I'm gonna try with Serica. It's a hard color to match. Oh, then Noxery, huh? Okay, cool. Yeah, I have GMK Laser as well, which I was gonna put on the Kuro, but again, I actually find that the color tone of Laser I don't like against black. I think it actually would look better against a dark gray, maybe. I don't know. So there's a couple of reasons that it took me this long to do this. And one was choosing caps. Which I decided I was going to try going with these. I have this Pulse, the Pulse, I forget what these things are called, these ridiculous, like Nordic style caps here, which are kind of neat. So I might do that, but I also have I've never actually used this on a board. I have Selectric SA, which would look good, black on black. And then I have, I think this is GMK Stormtrooper is what this one was called, but there have been a couple of white GMK runs, and I don't actually know if this is Stormtrooper specifically. Can I leak an album with the M60? Yeah, it should work. Give it a try. I actually don't know if it's gonna like put it for moderation, but I should be able to moderate it in if that is the case. So there's the choosing caps was fine. One of the reasons that it took me a while to do the stream too is I had to lube the Zilents, which it's been a while since I've lubed switches, and it's so not fun, and it takes forever, and it's boring as hell, and I obviously am not going to do it on stream because it's like watching paint dry. So I did that off stream. Okay, cut it for moderation. There we go. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you did, so you combined, is that Nautilus combined with laser? Is that what that is? Looks like it. Or was that lasers, oh, is that also the laser cap color of the alphas? I can't remember. See, in the photo, I think that looks good. But then when I look in person, it didn't look right. And maybe it's a product of the lighting in my office, I don't know. I found that it's just laser, okay, yeah. Yeah, wow, lasers alphas are pretty close to Nautilus, actually, looking at it. Yes, I could give that a try. I like it. Again, photos-wise, I think it looks better in photos than in person, but I should give it a try. Because I'm not a fan of this very much. I think this is a little too stark for my tastes. So anyway, I had to lube those switches, which was boring. I did it while watching season 2 of Ozark, so at least there was that. And then the real problem that I hit every single time I do a custom build. So truthfully, the M60 is not going to take very long to build. It's got the Kale hot swap stuff built in. So we don't have to do any soldering, just throw it together. It takes no time to build, and actually it's kind of silly because I've had it sitting on my desk taking up space, but the real reason that this has taken so long is I am so annoyed by this perpetual problem I have with spacebar stabilizers. This is not, I mean, it's not a problem only I have, it's a problem everybody has, but it is made 10 times worse by SA keycaps and metal plates. So the M60 has a 5mm plate, which is thick, it's metal, the body's metal. There's a gap in the enclosure that is available for space under the PCB for the weight, which I did not buy because truthfully, it's insane. I don't, like, it does not need another weight. So I didn't buy it with the internal weight, so there's a gap. So that can be filled with foam to reduce some of the sound. But the bigger problem is that Zilents are very quiet. I really like how quiet they are. They sound really nice and they feel really nice. There's a bit of a spring crunch that is not great, which I guess has been partially resolved in round 2, which changes some of the other stuff, and we won't really talk about that very much because I haven't tested them, but the bigger problem is you put Zilents on the board, and when you put SA keycaps on the Zilents, you can't hear them. They're quiet, and they feel nice, and they're very quiet, but if you put a spacebar, an SA spacebar, especially a 7U spacebar, which is what is required for this board, it's awful. The Zilent is meaningless because the stabilizers are so loud. The 3 parts of stabilizers, obviously, there's rattle, there's rattle and there's wobble. Wobble, I don't care so much about. Rattle can be resolved with lube. Lots of thick lube can resolve rattle. But it's the upstroke. I guess there's technically downstroke, though on an SA keycap, I actually don't think the Band-Aid mod is necessary. I did a little bit of looking at this. I always do it, but this time around I was like, do I actually need this? Because I don't think I can bottom out a stabilizer with an SA keycap. And I'm pretty sure it's not actually touching the PCB even with an SA keycap, but nonetheless, the Band-Aid mod can negate a majority of the downstroke sound, but you are left with this horrible upstroke sound. And that upstroke sound is loud and crisp. And the entire point of the Zilent is to get rid of that upstroke sound. Well, at least one of the points. The stem of the Zilent on its 2 shoulders has tiny little pieces of softer rubber on them, or I don't know if they're softer plastic or softer rubber, I'm not sure exactly what it is. And when you pull, when you release and that stem smacks the housing, it silences it. And it's very, it's very quiet. Stabilizers are terrible because no one has made a modification to a stabilizer that gets rid of that sound. I did a ton of research just trying to find anybody who had tried anything. And I found one thing, and we'll get to that in a second, but the basic gist of it is when the body of the stabilizer, it's actually not even the shoulders of the stabilizer, it's the feet. The feet on the stabilizer smack vertically against the housing when the switch returns to its unpressed position. And that is a plastic on plastic sound that is loud. And I expected by this point to search Google and say, silence stabilizer upstroke. And I found a bunch of results, and all of them were, how do I silence stabilizer upstroke? And nobody had a good idea. There's a lot of stabilizer wobble, stabilizer rattle, wire sounds, Band-Aid mods, lubing the crap out of literally every part of the stabilizer. Then there's additional insanity, like putting a foam in the SA keycap, putting, these are rubber glove gaskets on the switches to try to reduce anywhere that the switch is holding noise. Oh yeah, the Walker O-rings. Yes, that's what I'm gonna get to. I tried, filled this thing with I think this is 3 layers of craft foam. I put the rubber gaskets on that Trombri at some point said, this is more to fix the GMK smacking sound. It doesn't really work so much for SA caps, but I stuck them on there anywhere. I just went to town on this thing. I filled this thing. Like, this thing can't hold sound, you know? And then I found what Wix is referring to in chat, which is the Walker O-ring silencing strategy. And I watched his video, and I'll link it in the notes for this eventually when I post this. I found his video and I was so thrilled. Like, oh, finally, someone has solved this. And what he did is he cut all of the legs off the stem of the stabilizer, so the stabilizer can then fit completely through. Sorry, I apologize for this that I'm doing. Sorry, but it can fit fully through the body of the housing of the stabilizer, such that it could come all the way out, right? There's nothing stopping it from coming out. And then what he did, and I don't have, he has a microscope that he can show this in, and I don't. But basically he took these tiny little O-rings and he slipped the O-ring vertically between the housing and the stem, and he puts the wire through the O-ring then into the stem. And the idea is that as you release the stabilizer to go to the upstroke, instead of the legs of the stabilizer stopping it from popping out because of the housing, the O-ring will stop it. And the O-ring is rubber, so it's silent. So it will silently stop the upstroke. And in his video, it does. And I watched his video and I was like, oh my God, this guy's done it. He solved the stabilizer thing. So I ordered the O-rings that he used. I murdered some Zeal stabs to kill the legs. And I actually have it like that in this board right now. I'm not even on the right here. I have it in this board right now. If you look closely there, you can see there is an O-ring right there where that wire is attached. And that O-ring is stopping the stabilizer from coming out. Now, the problem with this is that, well, there's a couple of problems. One, it didn't resolve the problem for me entirely. So, okay, a few things. I don't think this is meant to be done with Zeal's screw-in stabilizers. And the reason is that Zeal's screw-in stabilizers have a really large hole. Well, actually, so my theory was that Zeal's screw-in stabilizers had too large of a hole, but now I am looking at some cheap, like, came with some random build a long time ago stabilizers, and they have the exact same hole. So I'm looking to see if a cheap stabilizer could do this. I don't understand how he maintained. Basically, when I did this, the O-ring it just doesn't work. The O-ring is not big enough to stop the wire from touching the housing, so you actually hear a wire touching the housing, and it is not large enough to maintain any stability in the stabilizer foot, so the stabilizers are insanely wobbly, like they wobble in all directions. So you put this, if you put the spacebar on, you can actually push the spacebar diagonally in different directions, which is terrible. I did try adding more than one O-ring. Sadly, that breaks the stabilizer. It actually can't, it can't make the motion smoothly. So I don't know what is special about what he's doing, if he was incorrect about the O-ring size that he's using, because I do think it's possible that the O-rings that he prescribed for this in his link are actually just too small. Looking at this, when I look at the board, I think the O-ring could be not double its width, but it could be bigger. So that's something worth trying. But let me just, so it's in here, and it's better, technically, sound-wise, than it not being modded this way. But the negatives in this case are too bad. So he's using a plate-mounted stabilizer in his video, and the mod works good on a plate-mounted stab. Yeah, and I think that is the difference, unfortunately. And I literally have no plate-mounted stabilizers in any build, so I couldn't even test this by like tearing apart something that I had. And truthfully, I'm not even going to bother putting this together because it wouldn't work long term. It makes the spacebar mushy and moves in a kind of a weird sliding way, so it just wouldn't work. And I ended up wasting a bunch of time on this. And truthfully, I think what the solution needs to be long term, well, one, Rama is working on his own stabilizers, and his stabilizers, at least based on his imagery for them, are non-modular in the sense that they look like they are designed to not be taken apart specifically. The downside to me, and I can't believe, not really, I can't believe that nobody has fixed this. The way that stabilizers are designed is asinine. They're designed as 3 distinct parts that can be combined in any positions, but because of that, they have way too much flexibility in, like, they have low tolerance. And instead of being like that, they should just be manufactured in their sizes. We only really have 3 sizes, right? You have the 1U stabilizers for spacebar and return and other stuff. You've got a 6, I think you got a 6, a 6.5, and a 7. To me, what needs to occur, and I'm kind of surprised Zeal hasn't tried to figure this out yet, what needs to happen is that at a minimum, the feet, the little legs or feet of the stabilizers need to be cut in half in their vertical dimension, and they need to be added, they need rubber added to the top of them. That should just be the case across the board. The silencers should be added to these stabilizers. Like, it doesn't matter what you're building, you should never have to hear that sound. And then secondarily, I just don't understand at all why there is so much give in a stabilizer stem versus housing. There does not need to be as much space as there is. It's very strange. Stabilizers are terrible. They are the worst part by far of any keyboard build. I watched a 3U, yeah. I watched a, I forget the person's name, I'm sorry. I'm totally misremembering now, but one of the popular keyboard streamers, he has a guide up for how to lube stabilizers, and the video starts with him showing lubed stabilizers. And he smacks them all, and he goes clack, 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 and he shows them, and every single one of them sounds terrible. Terrible. It's bizarre that that's like the victory condition for stabilizers. And we've gotten to this point where that's the victory condition. Oh, it's not, it's not as loud as it normally is, but they shouldn't sound like that at all. There's absolutely no reason stabilizers should be smacking the board like that. It's so strange. Yeah, silence like a Zilent switch, right? So where on the shoulders of the stems for the Zilents you put the little rubber housing because that's where or the rubber bit because that's where it smacks the housing. On the stabilizer, it just needs to be on the tops of the feet, so that when the foot hits the top of the housing, it's silenced by that rubber. And why hasn't anyone done that? I don't understand. In fact, I spent a while trying to figure out if I could do it myself, if I could somehow attach anything to these shoulders, or to these feet, that would give them like a shoulder, soft shoulder. And the tolerance is so small in those things that I don't have the tools here to do it. But I think you could sand off a bit of that surface and add a bit of something to it to make it quiet. Yeah, Nathan Kim, thank you, yes. Yeah, it's bizarre. I get what Nathan Kim's video is about, is working in the constraints of how people use stabilizers today, and those constraints are terrible, and I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised at this point that somebody hasn't fixed this. And maybe Rama's design, where he intends to make it a enclosed space, at least based on his animation of it, maybe he'll get around this by reducing some of the spacing, and maybe, I don't know. It just seems strange to me, especially Zeal having done the Zilents. I mean, take that exact theory and put it on the feet of the stabilizer, and I think you're done. Like, I think you'll get rid of that sound, because the rattle we can get rid of. It's gross, all the loop that has to sit in the board to get rid of that sound, but you can get rid of it. Yeah, it really pisses me off, because it's just such a gross sound, and it is compounded on SA. It is compounded much more, and especially with a metallic plate, especially in a case that has at all any hollowness to it. It just sounds gross. So I took this apart. I'm gonna relube this one stabilizer just so that it can go back to not using this mod. I'm so jealous of that guy's mod though, because in his video, like, it sounds really good. It made me think, like, oh, should I start using plate-based stabilizers instead? Plate-mounted, sorry. I'm jealous that I can't, because it just it's such a frustrating sound, and it's on every single board. I mean, part of the reason that I enjoyed the switching to the box switches for a lot of my builds was that the box switches already make so much noise that it doesn't matter that that the stabilizers are making a clicking sound. And I think a lot of people use very loud caps for that exact reason, which I get, but sometimes I just want it to be a little quieter, you know? And the Zilents, I like the sound of. Everything is covered in lube here. I like the sound of them, and I don't want to hear that much sound in a build like this, and, you know, it's very frustrating. Yeah, it's the worst part of every build by far. Every build always has, it's like I'm always chasing that same sound. It's just trying to get a better version of the spacebar sound. In fact, where the community's at with stabilizer silencing, it can kind of actually be summed up in a funny way by that Walker video. In the post on, I guess it was on Keep Talk, in the post that he put that video in, he initially just posted a description about the mod and a video of the effects of it. And in the video, he hits both the return key and the backspace key, and only one of them has been modded. And I can't remember which is which. But in the video, he taps the one that's not modded, and it's very clicky and loud, and then he taps the one that is modded, and it's much quieter. And in the first response, someone says, yeah, wow, the key that you modded sounds so much better, except the person picks the unmodded key and says that one sounds better, which is bonkers to me. And that's sort of where things are at. So I'm gonna try to put some dielectric into the body of this just to silence the rattle. It's so gross. Like, everything is just covered in grease. So I didn't used to do this dielectric thing at all, but with SA, especially on this board, like I find like the rattle is too noticeable. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see if I can get it to come down a little bit. Ugh, this stuff is so gross. The good thing I got a 3-ounce tube of it. Definitely gonna need all that. This is like 10 years of building keyboards, dielectric grease. They had a 0.3 ounce, but it was out of stock when I bought it. So I just bought the big one, and sort of instant regret there. And I wasn't paying attention here, so I accidentally used the same. I try not to use the same, I guess it doesn't really matter too much, but I try not to use the same one for both of these. Normally, so yeah, I lubed the switches off stream and I lubed the stabilizers off stream. Normally I wouldn't make anybody have to sit and watch me lube stabilizers, but because I had to take this apart after talking about it for so long, I have to just put a little bit more into this guy. And again, the actual build here is going to be quick because of the Kale hot sockets. Which after my last time dealing with hot socket related stuff with the hole tights build, which by the way, they have held up, those hole tights. I did take a couple of switches out of that board the other day to test something, and they did actually hold up. They didn't pop out, but I don't like them. They feel very precarious, and I don't want to deal with it. All right, let's see. I did not put dielectric in the other stabilizers because I just don't like the feel of it. Spacebar is the one that's most noticeable. Can't see what I'm doing here. Always have to question myself as to which side goes on which every single time. Where's the flange? All right. Excuse me. Okay. Ugh, there's so much lube in here, it's disgusting. This is too many times that I've taken apart these stabilizers. All right, that's fine. Normally I would actually clean these first, but because I'm putting dielectric back on them anyway, it doesn't matter too much. Yuck, it's gross. Okay, let's put these back on here. And we'll just, I'm gonna test this. Hello, go in there please. Thank you. I'm gonna test this as well just to make sure. Sorry, I need a cough button. Let me know if that music is too loud. Spotify changes its volume setting every single time you restart the app for some reason, or it does for me. So I always have to readjust it for the stream. And because I can hear it in my own ears as well, sometimes it's hard to tell what's too loud or not. All right, so I'm gonna attach this back together and then we'll test it once with an SA cap. Truthfully, I may not even end up using SA caps for this because the more I think about it, the more I might be interested in using Stormtrooper on this build, just because I think it might be kind of cool to have a stark black and white build. I apologize, my neighborhood, there's landscapers out in my neighborhood using leaf blowers, so I apologize. Let me know if the music needs to come up then, if that's the case. It's only in the silences that you can hear their leaf blowers. Leaf blowers are the bane of modern suburban existence. I guess I'm not really in a suburb, but even still. When I was a kid, we didn't use leaf blowers for every single part of landscaping, you know, rakes, brooms. And the screw is a little stripped, which is cool. All right. Okay, so, oh God, I can already hear it, how awful this is gonna sound. Let's put it in here. I'm gonna move this stuff around. Okay, so we'll just extra switches here. Actually, I was gonna check these for rust. A lot of people were complaining that their M60 screws had rust on them. I don't really see any on mine. Huh. Not a huge deal either way, I guess, but... Are these all the same? I realize I threw them all into this thing, but I actually don't know if they're different. No, they're the same. Okay. So, I gotta screw this in to test it. And then I'll put a cap on it. Maybe pause Spotify for a second so we can hear it. Okay. I have a bunch of other stuff coming. This is kind of a weird build. I've delayed it so much, but it's actually the simplest build given these hot sockets. But I got a couple that I've been waiting for a while. The biggest thing of which is I've been wanting to build a 10 keyless for a while, and I finally got in on a couple of, I inadvertently got in on 2 group buys, which was unnecessary, and I'm not sure if I'll keep both. The Leaf, I think, was one, and the Kuro board, both of which are supposed to ship soon. I think the Leaf is shipping now. I got a shipping invoice, but it has not shipped yet, and the Kuro should be soon-ish. All right, let's give this a shot. Ugh. This board, the biggest thing is just holding the PCB in when you push down. Definitely needed a middle screw, but whatever. Okay, let's try, pause Spotify for one moment. And let's hear this. Okay, so there's no rattle. It's just the upstroke. That sound. God, that's awful. Now, there's a downstroke too. But I don't really hit the spacebar like that, so it's gonna be this sound. I really hate that sound. If this wasn't a silenced board, or a Zilents board, that sound wouldn't bother me. Again, like here it is on my, let me open up this is I'm typing into a board here that, this is the, oh, Jesus. Get rid of this stuff. My computer just started, the fan spun up the minute I tried to, where the hell did that go? Oh, for God's sake, I just wanna, okay. So this is the B Mini, I think was what it was called. This is a polycarb. And so SA on these, that's loud. But again, these are loud. So spacebar sounds pretty good. This is the first build I ever did, so I don't even think it's lubed correctly. And that's pretty loud. Definitely not Band-Aid modded. But again, because of this doesn't bother me as much. But with this guy, and how quiet it's gonna be, that upstroke is gonna be the loudest sound. Yeah, let's try this. Let's try this guy. Actually, because I would, actually with the bezel on this, I'm not sure I would mount this upside down, but we'll try it. All right, let's give this a shot. Better. Still there. It's not quite as loud. That might have just sold me on. Man, I hate that sound. The crazy thing is, that sound is generated even if you don't Like just I can push this thing down by 3 millimeters and let go. And you can hear it. Man, barely, I don't even think I'd be actuating the switch here. That's bizarre to me that that's a thing, that sound needs to exist. It absolutely doesn't need to exist at all. The switch itself would not make that sound. In fact, I can, let's just put a switch here. Let's put an SA cap on it. The only thing I can hear is the goddamn spring. It's a separate problem. But again, even if I push and let go, silent. And we're gonna hear that clock. Clock. Thok. That should absolutely be small pieces of rubber on that stem to stop that sound. That's very frustrating. So here's the thing. I'm gonna build this, whoops, okay. Oh, that one really wanted to hold on. I'm gonna build this board because there's a huge benefit, obviously, to the Kale's hot swap sockets, which is that if I can figure out how to resolve this later, I can easily take this board apart and fix it. If this was a board I was soldering, I would be very hesitant right now as to what to do because I wouldn't want to hear that sound, and that sucks. And there's really no good answer right now. So I do want to test these guys because I did not put, where's the, of course it's not there. Because I did not, is that shift or, no, okay. Is that return or is that, yes, okay. Because I did not put dielectric in here. Okay, I think I am going to dielectric them just because I want those sounds to match. Have I ever tried a QMX clip on the spacebar? It cuts travel, but it's better. So I have. And I could. The question is, though, that's going to cut the sound going down. And I feel like the downstroke currently is fine. It's not the best it could be, but it's better. I could definitely silence the downstroke more with that, with the clip, but I don't think it's going to fix the upstroke, which is what I dislike the most, and I'm so annoyed by. So I think what we'll do, and the good news about the QMX, I have the Zeal ones, but it's basically the same thing. The good news about that is I can do that after the fact and give that a test. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do real quick is, well, first I'm going to bring Spotify back because I don't want to, it's dead silence. I'm going to throw some dielectric on these other two stabilizers real quick, and then we're going to put the board together, and then we'll see how it feels when it's all one cohesive. QMX clip dampens both down and upstroke. How is it dampening the upstroke? Is it not the same as the Zilencios things? I thought it was the same. I thought that was just the same thing. All right. Now I'm gonna have to look this up because now. Oh, nice. That switch just pulled right out. We'll say the the Kale sockets seem a little on the loose side to me. They push the switch slightly down, and the parts on top act as bumpers when you release the key. Hold on a second. What the hell are you talking about? I'm gonna look this up right now. Wait, how do they silence upstroke? I don't get it. Oh, do they have little feet that stick down? How did I never notice that? Oh, geez. Well, It's possible that would... yeah, here, let me improve that one. It's possible that that would actually resolve part of the problem. Trying to think where I have... hold on, I think I might have some right over here. You know what, I think we can cannibalize some from my minivan. I didn't have any in this. I have like 4 bins in here. There's some in the other room, but I think I can cannibalize some from this minivan. I would give it a shot. Now the question is, I have the Zeo version. My assumption is that they're effectively identical, but let's find out. Yeah, it looks like it. Actually, they look slightly different, but we'll try. All right. What do I need here? I need... this guy. These things are impossible to get off, so this is gonna be fun. Of course I got it off first try. That's ridiculous. Comparing the Zeo version. Oh, the GMK version come with like a little remover. That's interesting. So I assume you said QMX clip, but I assume GMK is the one you meant, right? Or is QMX a separate? Oh, I see, the GMK QMX clip. I'm an idiot. Okay. So I'm looking at the QMX picture, and the QMX clip has like a little foot that the Zeo version does not appear to have. So I can try this, but it may be that this actually would require the GMK version, which is fine, again, because that can be added after the fact, so that is totally cool. And I don't care about the travel and the spacebar at all. So let me just... okay, so let's resolve these problems with these other 2 stabilizers real quick, and then we'll give this a shot. You know, I wonder, could I always wondered if I could do this. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. I think I could do this without taking this apart, so let's do more dielectric in here. Oops. There you go. That was kind of hard to see in there. This would probably a good idea not to do it this way for this reason, but let's give it a shot. There we go. Okay. These ones, it doesn't matter quite as much as the spacebar. So they're generally a little less used. Though I guess return, pretty common. Oh man, I'm so excited to try this QM. All right, so one thing at a time, one thing at a time. You got my hopes up now. Got my hopes up. About to be very disappointed, I think. Alright. Should get this back in. Come on, you can do it. Alright. Oh, shit. Hold on. Need a better place for... Come on. One. One, you bastard. Two. Okay. A little better. Do this one too. I've used exactly 1/1,000,000th of this dielectric for this board, so. Okay. Come out of there, please. When I bought this dielectric, it arrived from Amazon in a box that contained 1 tube of dielectric grease, 1 tube of super lube, and 1 tube of Japanese toothpaste. There could have been a very serious medical problem with me if I had gone the wrong way with which tubes to put in which rooms in my house. But my teeth are greasy as hell now, so it's all good. Actually, one of these, I forget, I think it's a dielectric one, actually says it's food grade. And I don't, my assumption is that means something it probably doesn't mean. But that weirded me out a little bit, because, you know, I don't think you're meant to eat this stuff. Maybe food grade means you can use it on parts that are near food, I don't know. Alright. Look at this back in there. God, it's so disgusting. One. Excuse me. Two. Alright. Minimal amounts of lube all over my hands. Small victories. Okay. What's that? Get rid of this. Is it this one that's food grade? Yeah, super lube is apparently food grade. Multi-purpose synthetic grease with syncolin, PTFE, heavy duty dielectric, food grade, clean. One of the things it says is clean. Look at this. Heavy duty dielectric, food grade, clean. Okay. Always a good sign when you need to tell people something is clean, I guess. I don't know anything about these things. I don't know this. It's not poisonous. Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. There seems to be a pretty big gap between food grade and poisonous to me. But yeah, okay. Let's see. There's dielectric all over everything, including the PCB. Okay. Let's put this back in, and we'll try the silencing clip. I hope I didn't just scratch the front surface of this. I didn't realize I'd put it down upside down, which is genius. Okay. I am tired of screwing and unscrewing this keyboard, so hopefully that's the last time I have to do that. I've done it about 50 times in the last 2 weeks. So you built the M60-A. Anything else recently or future that's interesting? Okay. For some reason the tip of this screwdriver became non-magnetic again. I have to use that magnetizer. Okay, good. Good. My stabilizers weren't screwed in all the way. That's always a good sign. What the hell? Huh. For some reason, this... a couple of screws from this one stabilizer kit stripped really easily. That doesn't normally happen. Alright. How's the plate on it? I've heard a lot of people complain about the feel sound of the M60. I don't know, because I haven't typed, but it is thick as hell. I'll be honest with you, this plate renaissance lately of making plates 5mm thick now is like the new thing, and everybody's talking about them being the best. And then now there's the thing of the partial plate, where the middle of the keys don't have a plate and the rest do, and I don't understand what that is. What the purpose is of that at all. I've never tried one, so maybe I would know the minute I tried it, it would feel different, and I would say, oh, that's why. But I actually don't understand why you would want no plate on the alphas and plate everywhere else. I don't know. It's very strange. All right, let's put these 3 on here, and we're gonna try this clip and see if it makes a difference. Okay. Now, we'll do this. We'll stick with the SA, and I think I probably need to take this middle gasket off because of that clip, but we'll try it. Let's try not to get dielectric all over everything. I don't like integrated thick plates. Gotta have that bounce. Yeah, it's weird. Most people just recently built my J80 and Ellis. Nice, nice. Yeah, Nagolski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I apologize if I'm not. Is that what it is? It's all about bounce? Is there like literally like the PCB flexes? Because that was what one of the things seemed to imply, was that the PCB would flex a bit in that spot because there's no rigidity of the plate. Is that what people are looking for? Seems a little strange to me, but all right, let's try. I'm gonna try pausing Spotify one more time here. Okay, this was without the clip. Ooh. Okay. We got that classic SA keycap thing where I'm gonna need to put some saran wrap or something on so it doesn't pop up. What the hell? Wow, this okay. It just pops right off on that side, so I'll have to fix that separately. It's not like I would push the spacebar here, but oh my god, I can pop this thing right off. Okay. I might have gotten a little dielectric on the that might be why. Okay. Okay, let's try the clip here. This is kind of a bizarre thing to put a silencing clip on a Zilent. It's kind of hilarious. Oh, go on, you fuck. This is the worst part of the clips, is sometimes they just refuse to snap all the way on. Hold on, we're going to go left side first instead. Or right side first, I should say. Okay, you know what? Actually, one benefit of the ability to remove the switch in this case is we can actually... God. Pain in my ass. Come off. Come off. I don't want to scratch the plate here. Okay. Try this one more time. Get a good hold on it. Yeah, exactly. I want to scratch the case. Oh, come on. Oh, you bastard. Alright, let's try it. Let's try. I'm trying to get just enough clearance on the right so that I can get this thing to go on here. All right, I'll tell you what, there's an easier way to do this, which is we're gonna grab a different one, because I have noticed with these things that sometimes you just can't get them on a switch. And I would go through several of them trying to do it. Let's try this one. Let's start on the right. Man. Okay, I can get the left every time. Ah, there we go, okay. There's like 0 tolerance there. Yeah, I should have done that, yes. I should have added it before. All right, let's try it with this. I don't hear a difference. The fact that I can pop this thing off just by pushing on one side is awful. In fact, that actually seems to be modifying the sound a tiny bit in a weird way. Which I guess is what you were saying, it has its own sound. Let's try... Oh, why did I just take that off? I meant to put the PBT switch on. Or actually, yeah. There we go. Okay. Nah, it's actually kind of worse. It's got that sound that the clip itself seems to add. Damn. All right, well, we're gonna have to live with it the way it is. I got grease all over this thing, which is cool. Okay. That's a shame. That is a shame. All right, well, it was worth a try, certainly. I'm also gonna have to resolve now this spacebar itself being loose on the left side. I think I might have gotten a little bit of grease on the stem, which is now making the stabilizer slip right out of the thing. I'm gonna leave these rubber things on here because they're not hurting, but I don't think they're helping much. Okay, well, let's just put the rest of these switches in and see what it sounds like on its as a full board here. Damn, that's a shame. I was really hoping that was the solution. Doesn't sound good with the seal clips. No, it doesn't. That's a shame. It's possible that the QMX clips might sound a little better. They do have a slightly more noticeable like rubber foot under the bit here that this does not. So this just might not be silencing the upstroke the same way that the QMX type would. Might be worth, I might just try to order some if they're available somewhere just to give it a shot. Yeah, like I have them on this board. They just have such a specific sound. I actually don't feel like they're not really doing much for silencing here at all. I like the sound of them on their own as a sound, like this has a sound that I enjoy, but when they're put up against Zilents, it's not really solving anything. So, all right, let's just start putting switches on. Should have taken these off this board before, but I didn't have a lot of room for them when I was working last week. It's been fun to work for the past week at my desk around all of these parts that have just been staying everywhere. Pretty stupid. Meant to work with cherry profile, yeah. Yeah, I might order some QMX versions just to see. I mean, again, because they can just be added. Like I don't have to take the board apart. It's worth giving it a shot. But it is, sadly, didn't do much. Somebody's got to solve this problem. Somebody has got to solve the problem, and I think it's doable. And I just don't understand why people haven't solved it. It seems really strange that we're all just living with these loud-ass stabilizers. All right, now the one complaint I have heard from a lot of people on the M60 is that the PCB flexes too much when you're putting in the switches, and then also that people are having dead switches afterward because they're not getting it completely in there because of the flex. So I'm gonna try to hold I'm gonna try to hold these things here. So they're so expensive. Are they really? Probably partially relative to the hobby, but get out of my way, Spotify. Yeah, I wish if there was one thing that I would change about the design of this M60-A, it would be that there should have been a screw in the middle. Oh, you know what? I didn't. I should be doing a better job of checking the legs before I stick these in because I wasn't looking. It's actually quite difficult to see if you got them all in. Alright, I'm gonna start checking them as I put them in because I don't. It's very hard to tell. Truthfully, though, I think I am at a point where I can't decide if I want every board that I build from this point on to have these hot swap switches or if I want none of them to. It's weird. Like, there's something about the feel of them where it doesn't feel quite as structurally sound. I don't know. We'll see when we're done here. Dust all over these things because I did the dust and animal hair. I did the all the work to lube them sitting on the couch downstairs. The dog on the couch, which was probably a mistake. No bent pins so far. Yeah. It seems strange because everything else is so thoughtful. It's just a weird lapse to have the middle of the board be flexible. All right. So far, so good. Let's get the rest of them here. Try not to break the UCB or USB connection there. I think I have some extra switches in here, but I can't remember. Extra solder on. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, well, hopefully we won't have to do that. Just because I'm lazy. Yeah, I saw a couple of bad PCBs in the discussion thread. Seems like they were pretty quick to reply. Actually, maybe it was you. Maybe it was you actually who I saw who ended up. I think you reported that stuff wasn't working and there were bad pads on the things, and then your next post was like, I just soldered them and I fixed them myself. After somebody said like, talk to Rama and he'll replace it, and then your next post, if it was you, next post was just say I fixed them. It's good on you. Who needs to wait for stuff to ship from Australia? Unless you're in Australia, then I guess it wouldn't be so bad. But for my part, I used Apple Pay to pay for mine, and I always forget that Apple Pay doesn't give the phone number to the company you purchase from. So Rama sent out that message to everybody saying, hey, some people, I don't have your phone number, I need it to ship, and I'll send you an email. But I never got an email, and I didn't notice that until it was too late. So I ended up reaching out to him saying, well, like weeks after everybody had received theirs, saying like, hey, do you happen to need my phone number? Yes, I do. So mine was just delayed for no good reason. I think you asked why I got two. It's a good question. Don't really have a good answer. I couldn't decide on color, and also I was kind of thinking I might build one and either sell it or give it to somebody. But then I couldn't decide when it arrived on the keycap set and stuff, so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna build it. I'll probably build it off stream, honestly, because it's effectively doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Not really worth it, but I'll build it, see how I feel about it. and then be one of the be a good thing for like a stream giveaway if my subscription level was significantly higher, but like only having 100 subscribers, it's kind of stupid to do a giveaway. But I get asked a lot by other people, like if they can buy custom boards that I've built, and the answer for that has always been no, because I only built one, and you would have had to talk to me months in advance. So the M60 was the first one where I was like, oh, if I buy two, I might actually have a good answer to that question if somebody does say, hey, could I buy one? Not to sell for profit or anything, but just to sell if I wanted to later. So I don't really have a good answer. It's greed. Greed is a good answer. Truthfully, I sort of wish I hadn't, because then I would have ordered the Koyu or whatever it is in race, because that color combination is so good. Like black with a red weight on the back, which is really neat. Okay. Got them all in there. Set this down. Oh, what the? Why that weight on the back is so... Okay. Seems good. Now we get to do the daughter board nonsense. Oh, I've really touched this with lube on my hands, which is always a dumb idea. And there's a little speck of something in there too, which I'll have to use air to get out later. All right. Certain angles, you can see a little bit of, you can see some sort of lines in this finish, but for most angles, it's really, really pretty. Okay, now the question is, let's actually test this first before doing anything else. And where the hell did I put the wire? The cable, I should say, in one moment. Everybody moving to USB-C is good and bad. Like I have a lot of USB-C stuff, so that's great, but a lot of my desk setup specifically for keyboards is actually based around USB 2 currently, because most of the stuff that I've built in the last year and a half has all still been USB 2. This is USB 3. So like my hubs and stuff that I share keyboards between the two, between my Mac and my PC, is gonna have to be changed. Okay. Let's put this thing in and give it a shot. Just gonna balance it on its wire for a moment. Let's see if this actually works. I haven't actually plugged this into a Windows machine yet. Well, that's a good sign. Wow, it even has the proper label. Good job. Okay. Let me just test it here. Where is the testing app? Which I can never remember the name of. What is it? Is it Sharp Keys? No, that's a utility for making. Oh, what the hell is the name of this utility? Keyword test. Genius. Genius. Switch Hitter is the other one. Yeah, I got to download it. I just happen to have this one installed currently. Oops. Okay. So actually, you know what? Let's just do that real quick. Current release. Give it to me. I don't know how I don't have this installed. Okay. There it is. All right, let's see here. Let's see if we can really quickly put this here. Bear with me because it has been a while since I have turned this on. So, and it's not set up correctly. We want this one. Yeah, it's upside down. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, you know what? Actually, let's just do it this way. Yeah, this will work. Hello. There we go. Let's do it live. We'll do it live. Genius. Let's add a... where the hell is it? Window capture, please. Why isn't this window available to be captured? Window capture. Unknown brain? Is that the window? Is it called Unknown Brain? Is that seriously what this window is called? No, that's Spotify. That makes more sense. Unknown Brain. Get rid of you. Weird, it is not available to be captured. That is very strange. Well, we can do smart selection here. Oh, weird, it's not even a fetchable source. I can't even smart grab it. That's really weird. Huh. Okay, yeah, switch hitter is not grabbable by XSplit. It's not like a real window, which is weird. And now these guys are leaf blowing right outside my door. Sorry, that's really annoying. Yeah, this is very strange. Switch hitter is not accessible by XSplit, which is weird. I've never actually seen a window that XSplit couldn't capture before. It's possible that it doesn't, maybe it doesn't refresh sources after the fact, so maybe opening a new window for some reason it doesn't see it as a source. Yeah, let me just put this back up here. Okay, so we'll try this. Get rid of Spotify. Get rid of, oops. Get rid of Notepad. All right. Let's try this. Genius. Software for streaming is just super garbage. It's unbelievable. Let's try this again. How about there? And we'll get this out of the way. All right, it's not the best spot for it, but we'll put it there for a minute just so we can test it out. Okay, here we go. Escape works. Yep. Okay, set to delete by default, that's fine. Good so far. Backspace, right. Whoa, oh yeah, control, okay. I keep forgetting this has a decent default key map. I'm so used to keyboards having crap maps. Shift keys spring is really noticeable. Good, that's a function. Okay, obviously switch this stuff around, but those work. That one's not bound, which is interesting. Space works. Okay. It looks like everything works, unless this one is not working, which it might not be. I'm gonna pop that one out and see. Are its legs through? Its legs are through. I can't tell if that's a mapping issue. I don't remember. Oh, there's two function keys. Okay, cool. So let's just test. Yep, okay, that one works. Yep, okay, cool. Yeah, that totally works. So no problems. That's good. I don't have to solder anything. That makes me happy. All right, let's unplug this thing, and let's put the little daughter board back, or put this thing together. Now, my assumption was I was going to need to put foam in here, because there's going to be quite a bit of space here. Right? Yeah, that's a good deal of space. So I'm just going to throw one piece in there to dampen a little bit. Did you put foam in yours? Filled mine with 2 sheets. Okay, yeah. This is 2mm foam, so we're gonna have to go even further. And I'm trying to think. Oh, it's actually a little wider than. Okay. Let's see. Go there-ish. You are going to be out of the way here. Nice measuring. Two sheets from the mid-back, yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Grab another one here. I don't know why, but this foam that I bought, every single piece has this sticker, thing stuck to it. I don't know why that's really necessary. I don't really think these are meant to be sold individually, but I guess maybe this was a package I wasn't paying attention and. All right, so I wasn't paying attention another way, which is I didn't realize that that piece I was using had been cut. Let's see if that's roughly good. Should get one of those slicing things that you can just stick it in and roll it back, because this is a waste of time. Boy, it's like I'm in elementary school, only this cost hundreds of dollars. Not the foam. Alright, so we'll just jam this thing up with a couple of pieces here. Okay. So we'll do... I'm gonna do some really sloppy cutting here. Do... This foam would stop sticking to me. Okay. Do one there. And then... Actually I think two could fit there, and then a third. It's just on the back half, basically. Yep. Wilba did say something in one of the posts about avoiding having foam be against one specific part of the PCB that gets warm. But I have done lots of testing in the past with foam, and being right against LEDs and various resistors and stuff, I've never noticed any issue, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, but we'll see. If the keyboard catches on fire, you know, then I'll know that I've made a mistake, I guess. All right, foam. Let's do this bit here. Oh, actually, I didn't look at the instructions for this. Is this... It has to go one way, right? Yeah, it can only go one way. Okay. Trying to decide what's the best position to... Okay, so it's gonna go this way. We want it to go this way. It's gonna end up like this. Find a comfortable position to... And you know what? I'm gonna put the rubber feet on this before I do this. That way I'm not putting metal on metal. Cut the foam for the front too. Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Hold on a second now. Am I pulling the adhesive off when I do this? I really dislike it when adhesive-backed things come and when you pull the paper off, you're actually pulling the adhesive off the main surface. That is super frustrating. That was cool. Jesus. Come off of here. Yeah, I was totally pulling the adhesive off. Oh, this adhesive is like a bit of an air gap in it. I might need to trim that. Let's see. Oh, wait a second. Wait, why does this... Why do the adhesive spots have what look like screw holes in them? Is that just what the weight sticks into if you put a weight in? Or are those just... Oh, they're not threaded, so they're not screw holes. Weird. Okay. I probably should have looked at the directions just to see if there were any gotchas here, but I didn't. Oh. I don't have... So big 4 screws. And actually... Yeah, and then... Okay, so screws can't possibly go in here. There are no screws to go in there. God, with the freaking leaf blowers. All right. There's one. See if I can get this one off without pulling the adhesive off. Much better. Where did I put... I don't know. Get rid of that. Boy, that's annoying. Get in there. Okay. That's 2. Yeah, I think you're right that it's for pushing in to get rid of the rubber feet. It's definitely not screw holes. Okay. Now then. This is going to end up going like that. Which means it needs to go like this, and this guy goes on here. I get the necessity of it, but I really dislike daughter boards, just especially hooked to the back of the case. Just a pain. Reminded me of taking apart the HHKB, which I guess makes sense given this is basically designed exactly the same. Okay. I'm gonna hand tighten these just because I don't want to. This song is terrible. What is this? This is like something out of a Mortal Kombat sequel. Skip. Good. Not much better. Not much better, but whatever. Deal with it. Okay. Let's make sure this is in the right spot. And it is. Good stuff. Okay. Question is, will I be able to get this back out? Come out, you bastard. I guess I'm just trying to avoid touching this. God, this thing is heavy. Okay. So I got that done. Let's try to precariously rest that. And now let's look at the foam that's gonna go in here. Which I guess now is gonna have to go actually. All right, so it's gonna have to go under this, which I didn't really consider. So I'm gonna make some space for it on that side. Okay. Good. You know, I'm just gonna cut the two corners off. Should solve the screw problem. Okay. Let's see. Same basic gist here. This one's a little too high for that cable, so I'll take off a little bit more. There we go. Okay. That should still fit. I don't even know if I really need a third here, but make it a little bit smaller. This all might be a waste of time anyway, but let's see if there's enough clearance for this now. All right, that's a little tight in the front. All right, we might need to make this one a little bit less long. This is like the layered batteries in the MacBook. You know, just it's like an elevation map or something. All right. That. Feeling a little bit of resistance, and I can't tell. I think it's actually because of the cable, which I didn't really consider as I started doing this. Because the cable is sitting on top of the foam. So what we're gonna do is actually just do this in a few parts. Here, where there's no foam at all. I think this is probably all completely overkill. Because I don't think this is gonna make much of a difference, but we're this far into it, so we'll just keep going. Let's try not to scratch the case with the case, but no guarantees. All right, now I've basically put it in a couple of still too much in the back corner. Oh, okay. Nope, there we go. For some reason I did not get it seated the first time. Alright, that seems pretty good. Let's give it a shot. Oh, except, you know, it's funny because you said, oh, make sure you leave room for the screws in the corners, but I only did the front corners. I didn't do the back corners. Although actually, you know what? It's fine. I don't see the foam there. Do a shake test. Yeah, I wonder if I'll be able to hear the foam. I don't think it's gonna move. It's a pretty tight fit there. But we'll try. If anything, it's a little tight in this front corner. Hope that's not where Wilbo was saying the hot spot is, because that is right up against the foam right there. Okay. Let's see. Nah, I don't hear anything moving. That'd be awesome to shake it around. You can just hear the foam moving back and forth. God, I got a lot of fingerprints on this case while I was doing this work. I hope these come off here. Yeah, good. All right, plug it in one more time. Make sure I didn't somehow short it out or anything while I was screwing with it. I have like no lead on this USB-C cable. Cool, still good. Okay, now set it flat here. Huh. Those feet are not exactly flat. There's some give in the corners here. Just making sure this is totally seated. I think on a fabric mat it's not going to matter at all, but there is a tiny bit of give in the corners. I'm actually realizing it's not a seating issue, it's because the feet end a little early. So where I'm pushing is actually just pushing in the gap that the foot leaves. All right. Either way, in the middle it's dead solid. So now the decision is, do we go with these kind of nutsy, crazy nutso caps with all the weird symbols, the runic symbols, which I think are pretty cool? Or do we just go Stormtrooper GMK white? White's like the easy answer here, because it will just look good, but I sort of want to do something fun. So I may end up switching them to that down the road, but for right now, let's go with this. And I need to open up, this is the fun part. So before this, I went and I did a quick thing where I put together all of what it should, the order of the caps should be, because these caps have a determined order technically, based on the images that what's his face did, Mito, I think. But I disagreed with a few of the things, so I made my own screenshot of it, which of course now I can't find for the life of me. Why would I put it in a place that would be reliable? Where did I put it? So what I'm gonna do is find that map just so I can look at it as I'm doing this. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, we're just gonna open. You have to look for it real quick. That was Pulse round 3, was it? I think it was round 3. Round 4? I don't know, this set has been done like 55 times. I have the original Pulse, but I actually don't like it. Alright, found it. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that there's something about this version of it that I like, just because it's, whoops. Slamming into stuff over here. Just because it's somewhat unique. Alright. Oof, okay, good. I'll just, pull the switches out, whatever, we don't need this. Jeez. Some tight SA socketing here. Hopefully this doesn't stop that key from working. Alright, let's just put these things on. See how it looks. It looked cool in the test. I haven't actually tried really using them. Actually, hold on a second. Let me find the... Get a better... Yeah, here we go. Where is it? I had a really good screenshot of what it looked like with the whole set. And of course I can't find it. Of course. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. For the most part, I think I know what it is. So, here we go. Let's give it a shot. That sounded okay. Not the worst thing I've heard. Have to remember what some of these are. Alright, so that's tab. That is backspace. That is going to be meta. This one, I think, is in the place of caps lock, even though caps lock is a control on this board. This is my other shift. Backspace. Okay. These guys on. And I forget what I was going to use for those. Oh, there needs to be. Oh, here we go. Whoops. There needs to be a tool that you can throw all your caps into a sack or a bin and push a button, and it lays them all flat, face up. Because this is what I always go through, is just turning them all over. Sounds like the kind of song that would be in Beat Saber. I haven't played Beat Saber in a while. It's so fun. Not Stormtrooper, sorry, I saw what you said but didn't say it out loud. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Stormtrooper is a great default set, but what's the point of building a custom if you're just gonna put white caps on it, I guess, at the end of the day. Alright. So I think what I was gonna do is use, what was I gonna use for function? Well, we can solve some of these problems. Some of these are straightforward. Like our numeric keys here. The very first set of Pulse that I got was through Mech Market, and the person who sold it to me was like, oh, it's brand new, it's never been used, still in the original bag. And I was like, cool. Bought the set, got it. All of the, almost all the keys were completely shiny. They had clearly been typed on quite a bit. But on top of that, they had all been put on, like, I guess the girthiest stems on planet Earth, because when I went to put them on one of my keyboards, not a single one of them would stay on after you typed. Like, as I was typing, they would just pop right off and fly off. It was pretty terrible. right. What are we looking for here? We're looking for... I forget if these are legend. Okay, so there's single legends on these. There it is. Okay. And I think escape is the diagonal one. Yeah. Pretty sure I used these guys for my alts, which I suppose are supposed to be code, the equivalent of code. Where's the other one? It's like, where's Waldo? All of these are just random shapes. Was I not going to use? Alright, well, let's finish this row. At least we know this is going to be that guy. And then we're going to use delete here. And then... and this is where it starts to kind of fall apart a little bit for how I had planned this a little bit. Well, we can do some of these keys that we know. I hope you reported him to the... I didn't. It was like one of the very first things I bought, and I was like brand new to the hobby, and I guess I just didn't know really if it was technically my fault, like if I should have, you know, asked more questions, I guess. So you get away with it. It was a fairly cheap purchase at the time. I've definitely purchased some sets since then that I was way more careful about, and asked a lot more detailed questions before I got them. Like when I bought SA Retro or Retro SA or whatever, that one I was like exceedingly careful before I purchased because it's very high in demand, and for a while there they were selling for a lot of money, and so I wanted to be really sure that what I was going to get was not super shiny and damaged, and thankfully I was able to get very detailed pictures, especially of like the modifier keys and spacebar and stuff, to make sure it didn't have like a big thumb smudge, or you know, like a worn thumb space, and it was in good condition, thankfully. A few of those keys, I mean, I think there was something about SA's tooling also for a while there where there was like not as much I don't know, the tolerance on the connector to the stem, whatever that's called, was lower, it feels like, because a lot of the older SA sets, even ones that were clearly unused, had very loose, they held onto the thing very loosely. Okay. So the thing that I can't remember here is what I had planned for my function key, which I see because this is sculpted. So what was I going to use for my function? I think I might have. Huh. Don't remember. Check the mass drop page. The mass drop page for which? Oh, you talking about the box switches with like how they were destroying the connections. So the crazy thing is I have box switches that are connected to, or that I have SA caps on like 4 boards. They're the box whites. And maybe it's that I've never taken them off, but I have not noticed that stem damage issue. Maybe that's also got worse on some of the other box switches, because I remember people were specifically saying it, I want to say about the Royals, or maybe it was just the Royals, I don't know. Seems unlikely given that they're all made with the same parts, but okay, let's try to put this. I'm trying to remember how this goes, because Because I'm gonna make a substitution on a few of them just to try to make it a little bit better for my sanity. So I definitely know that this one is the equivalent of F, and that this one is the equivalent of J. Like that. And I use JKL for arrow keys. I'm sorry, JKL and I. So what I wanted to do was swap a few of these positions to make it look a little bit more like arrow keys. Since these are all nonsensical anyway. Oh, check the, yeah, I finally found a picture of it. I should have just looked to begin with. I guess this is roughly B, ZXCBB. It's kind of weird sometimes when they are lined up because it's a little silly, but all right, let's see. And then we've got, so for my I, I'm actually going to switch the I with an up arrow because I think that matches the same. Yeah. So, because this thing that looks like an arrow is actually supposed to be, I think, on the T key, but I'm actually going to move it over there, and instead I'm going to move the I to a different position because that is the key that I use for the up arrow. So it's actually convenient. And then similarly, there's this left-facing arrow, but this is a non-sculpted row, or it's sculpted, but it doesn't matter. So I can actually put this on here, like that, and that becomes my right arrow. And this kind of looks like an arrow. And then by benefit, I can flip the other one that was meant to go that way to that way. And now I actually have keys that remind me just easily to find where the arrows go. So nonsensical anyway, but this is a little bit more convenient. So now that I've figured out these special keys, the rest of them I'm just gonna match mostly the layout that he designed because they're super arbitrary anyway. There you are. Okay. And then the one thing I find a little bit disappointing about this set, which is strange, is the duplicates. There's, by default, in the set, there's a few keys that are repeated, and that's strange. Because if you're gonna go this far and make all these arbitrary, I mean, I guess some of them are not arbitrary, to be clear. Some of them are based on, like, you know, other languages and whatnot, runic language or whatnot, but it just seems strange if you're gonna go this far, why not have a single duplicate, just come up with something for whichever ones that you were gonna duplicate instead. So I took the arrow, or the one that was going to be the arrow, and I moved the arrow to the I position, which would mean that I would need to put the I here, which is a little strange, but I think I'm okay with it. Because that's the weird thing, is like, this is literally an I, and it was gonna be in the I key, but it's a little on the nose. Similarly, this key that's clearly looks like an M is now on the M position, but whatever. Oops. Let's see who's messaging me here. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. There we go. I think it's this P key that is the one that's repeated by default. Yeah, so by default, this is repeated in the top row and in the bottom, but I had enough keys to get around that, but also the arrow is repeated and I can't get around that, which I find a little frustrating. So this arrow is here, even though there's one here. I think that shouldn't be, but we'll live with it. Unless you look back and forth over the keyboard several times, visually you wouldn't necessarily see it, but it's a little silly. And it's like, what's the deal with, there's on the nose placement of the key that looks like an M, and the key that looks like an R, and this, which is designed to look like an I, is meant to be in the I position, but then, and the B as well, and the C as well, but then there's a key that looks like a Y, and it's not in the Y position, it's in the Z position. So it's just sort of like, I would have preferred going all the way with it and matching them similarly, or going not at all and not matching them at all. But this is some weird middle ground, which is a little strange. Okay, so this one goes here. We've narrowed it down to this weird looking one, which can either go in the Y position or in that position, and then we've got this. Screw it. Let's go like this and like this. It's arbitrary anyway. And then I guess what I was gonna do, so these are both not sculpted. I was expecting this one to be sculpted to match this, but maybe I did not have, maybe I could not find a key that was sculpted for that. So I guess we'll go like this, and then we'll go like this. That kind of bothers me. I might try to find a key that's sculpted better for that, but that's fine. Put this back on. That definitely is going to need to be, I need to stick some saran wrap or something in there. Oh, okay. Let's just pause Spotify one more time here. And let's listen to this thing. Boy, it's, if I could just kill, it sounds really good everywhere but the spacebar. It's really pretty. Like, that looks really nice on there. Let's just wipe this edge off here. A little speck of dust stuck in the middle there, but like, I mean, that is really pretty. That's basically the, you know, it's the HHKB you always want, except it's, you know, not Topra, but it sounds really good on the alphas. No. And here's the thing, honestly, it sounds better in my room in the office here than it does on the microphone. And I think this microphone is just too sensitive. It's picking up a sound that I can't actually hear in reality. So it sounds better in the real space. This is just really picking up on every single... I was a little nervous because as I was doing this, I could hear the springs a little more than I remembered being able to hear them after I lubed them. Not this one. Okay, so this one needs... I'm going to replace this switch. I think basically what I'm going to have to do here is... Oh, that one too. Yeah, you can see if we can. So, clean spring sound. And then this one. Hear it in there? You can hear it clicking every now and then. Similarly, clean, loud. So, there's a couple of those. Both of these, actually. Actually, it's more... No, it's not terrible. And honestly, there may be two of those that I might just replace because they sound a little bit more springy than I'd like. But it sounds really good. And then you get that. Which, granted, at least it's a Thok sound. It's like not the worst. I think the foam underneath did help a little bit. Because now that I have this put together, this sound is not as offensive. And I think because now that sound is pushing its way into the space underneath as well, and it's getting made a little bit dull. So it's not as gross. Now it's not isolated. I'd still love to silence that upstroke. It's really pretty though. I'm actually curious. Oh, reach down here. This is a bad spot to have this thing plugged in. Let me actually, let's move this to, I'll unplug it from the PC and plug it into the Mac where I've got a I don't have a USB hub that's as easily accessible for the Mac as, or for the PC as I do for the Mac. Sorry, a real close up of my face here. I apologize. It's on a weird side angle of my desk. Okay, so I'm just gonna plug this in, and I'm curious to see with these switches and stuff if the LEDs are really gross looking. Oh, actually looks, I mean, I wouldn't have it set to rainbow just because it's distracting, but it actually comes out of the board very uniformly. One of the things that I find a lot with the underswitch LED lighting is that sometimes weird, just by the way that the boards, especially if you use something like the Centrex 60 or something where it's board lit, but it bleeds through, you get this kind of weird thing. I usually end up just turning off the LEDs entirely, unless you're doing a board, you know, where you're meant to have, you know, the whole thing is lit from underneath, which I've kind of grown less a fan of over time. This was the first board that I ever built. But in this case, like, the LEDs are coming out extremely uniformly, even including the Band-Aid mods not really deadening the light coming out of the stabilizers, which I would have expected a little bit, because the LEDs are blocked a little bit in the spacebar stabilizer band-aiding, but because they're so bright, they're actually, and because the Zeal stabs are clear, they're actually still coming out. So this is not terrible if I want to do a tiny bit of backlighting. Like, I would make it uniform and reduce it a lot, but I'm actually kind of surprised by how good the uniformity is of the lighting coming out of it, because it's not often the case. Let me just identify this board for Mac here. And the nice thing is QMK, so I can just throw my default layout on here pretty easily tonight. Let me just open up something so I can actually type on this and see how it feels. Too many computers in here. There we go. All right. I'm not used to the, as dumb as it sounds, I'm not used to the HHKB layout, because I always end up converting this back to just 2 backspaces, and this goes back to being backslash, because I use too many different boards, almost none of which support the backspace in this position. So I always have to end up reverting it, which people get really annoyed about when I say that. But it's sort of a reality of having multiple boards. It's like, working all day, I can't, there's only so many things I can mentally change each time I use a different keyboard. I've gotten used to being able to mentally switch back and forth between an arrow cluster that is real and a layered arrow cluster, which I don't use the default HHKB for that either. I find that uncomfortable. I actually have it as a toggle switch on the spacebar. So I use spacebar and JKLI. So tapping spacebar, holding spacebar becomes the arrow keys, which I've gotten used to. That I can do, so I can mentally switch between that and arrow clusters on different keyboards. But the backspace position for the HHKB changeover, I tried, and every time I would switch to a laptop keyboard something, I simply wouldn't be able to backspace. So that's the one I always undo, and it pisses people off. I know technically, yes, I totally get why this is a better backspace key. Obviously, the reach is less. It's still a reach, but it's less. But it's too far mentally for some reason for me to go between that and it being in another position, especially for a key that I use as frequently as backspace or delete. So I'll probably change that and change my arrow cluster to my default arrow cluster. But other than that, there's not much that needs to be done here. I also don't use escape. I don't use this key as escape in an HHKB layout because let's see, I just program all my keyboards to have HHKB backspace, even with a board with full backspace. That is I don't know why that was moderated. That's weird. Yeah, that is a good point. There's one issue with that, which is that now that, so it depends. If you use prior to OS 10 or Mac OS 10.11, or which version are we on? 10.12, I can't remember which. That used to be totally doable across all of my computers because I could use, I can't even remember the name. Let me turn this Turns back on. I can't remember the name of the software off the top of my head for some reason, but there was a key management software you could use in OS 10 that would allow you to remap all the keyboard, use all, move everything around. That stopped working in 10.12 or 10.11, and ever since then it hasn't. So I can reprogram all my boards to use QMK. I could program that way totally, and that would work. But the bigger problem is the laptop keyboards, which I'm forced to use client hardware sometimes for work. And so sometimes if I have to use client hardware and I'm on a keyboard, I don't have an option. I can plug in an external keyboard, but it's not always realistic, etc. So it has been difficult for me to get used to that. You use your backspace on caps lock, you are a monster. That's interesting. Backspace on caps lock, interesting. So what do you put in place of the backspace key then? Is that caps lock, or is it control, or is it... I don't think I've ever heard of that one. That's interesting. I mean, I use control for the caps lock, but I've never thought to use backspace there. That's really interesting. That one you could do in OS 10, Mac OS, actually, because that I believe that's one of the ones you can remap using the system settings. Let's see. This thing totally works. Wow, yeah, this totally works. Oh, backspace. That's the way I think they do in Colmac. Ah, interesting. Okay, yeah, I've never attempted any of the non-QWERTY layouts. It's one of those things. You know, I type all day, every day for work, and the idea of trying to relearn how to type is terrifying to me, because it's basically like saying like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get any work done until I get used to this. At one point I bought one of those Kinesis, I think it's Kinesis Pro or whatever, the keyboards that are like, you know, you sit in like these two big dishes and you type diagonally and all the keys are in completely different positions. I bought it years and years and years ago. This is like 2006 when I was having really bad RSI, and somebody recommended it, saying like this totally solved the RSI for me. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll buy one. And those things are like $400 or $500, which granted now is kind of hilarious, but at the time it's like $500 to try this keyboard, or maybe it's $300. And I bought it and plugged it in at work. I was working at an agency at the time, plugged it in at work, sat down on it, put my hands in the thing, and was like, I can't do anything. I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't figure out anything. Everything felt wrong. It was the most awful feeling. This like extremely, sorry, I just bumped everything here. This extremely claustrophobic, horrible feeling of I just need to like write a line, one line, and just, and everything was wrong. And I tried it for a week. And that entire week, people kept asking me, like, where's the stuff you're working on? And I was like, I'm trying my best. I will get it to you. You know, people would send me messages and say, like, how come you're not replying? And I was like, I'm replying. It's just taking me too long. And at some point, I can't. I'm never going to get this. Or if I do, it's going to take months of time. And then also, that thing is enormous and hideous and just this massive thing, you know, like where you put your mouse, because your mouse is gonna be like all the way off to the left. And they're like, oh, yes, you can solve some of these problems with a foot pedal. And I just, at some point, come on, I'm not gonna do a foot pedal. Ironically, today I would use a foot pedal, but not for those, you know, I would use it for other reasons. Like I could see the utility of a foot pedal for macros, which would be kind of neat. And I think that's probably actually what Kinesis was suggesting it for. But at the time, I was like, this is not good. I can't use that foot pedal and a 4-foot square, 6-inch tall hunk of plastic at my desk. I also was like nervous to leave it there. I mean, I don't work in an office now. I work at a home office, so I would be nervous to leave this keyboard there in the evenings anyway. So I guess it's not really a problem that is solved by my current hobby. But boy, I'll tell you, this is a beautiful keyboard. It's really heavy. It is effectively as close as you can get to perfect for this hobby, manufacturing wise. It is so well made. The anodization is even. it's basically flawless. You know, the weight definitely has like waving in it, but it's metal. And at the end of the day, you know, there are a few companies on this planet that could manufacture, even at a minor scale, a coated PVD weight that didn't have at least minor surface warping in it or whatever. And again, like you can see it here if I turn it, you know, at a perfect angle. You can see the texture there in the reflection. But in reality, when your eyes look at it when it's sitting on my desk, I don't see it at all. It looks so good. And the worst thing is just keeping it clean. And again, I've got this little speck in here that's driving me crazy. Let me just look at tiny little. Use the Band-Aid from the Band-Aid modding. There we go. It's so beautiful. It's really well done. Relearning stuff like that is very frustrating. Yeah, absolutely. It genuinely gives me the feeling of claustrophobia, which I don't know if that's, I'm a claustrophobic person anyway, and so that feeling in me can happen for things that most people I think probably don't get that anyway, but I don't have like debilitating claustrophobia, but I definitely am a more claustrophobic person, I think, than some people. But it sets off the same feeling, which is really strange. And then it also includes the frustration of not being able to get anything done. When I switched to the aero cluster stuff, when I started using a lot of 60% boards, I had to get used to the aero cluster thing. That did take me a few days of work. But it wasn't as bad because the arrow keys can be clunkier during working than the alpha keys. So I was more willing to put up with it for the time that I did. And so that was fine. It was just a couple of slow days. It actually, the bigger problem for me wasn't so much learning to hold shift and use these keys for arrow keys. What it actually was having to combine mentally the chording events that occur around selection, especially when writing code. Like, it's not so much that it's difficult to hit, you know, hold space and hit left, 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 or right, or up and down. It's more, oh, I need to select, and I want to select this word, but I'm a word ahead of it. So it was more mentally connecting, holding control and shift with holding space and the arrow keys rather than just by default moving my hand over and just hitting the arrow. So that took a few days, but again, like I got used to it really quickly. And it's not terrible to switch back to an arrow cluster. So that's kind of as far as I can go with it, but it looks really good. It looks really good. And I'm glad I picked these keys. I think this looks super cool. I'm just not a fan of HHKB as a layout myself. I totally get that, absolutely. For some reason, it works for my brain, and I like it a lot. The layout that I've gotten frustrated with over time is actually 65% or even 75% because it's like that weird middle ground that I don't like. So the next few things that I build are all kind of in the HHKB region. The CA66, that's basically an HHKB, but it has an arrow cluster, which is kind of odd. I just really like the look of it. It just reminds me of, you know, the keyboards of my youth. And then I'm gonna build the Leaf TKL and or the Kuro TKL. I just wanna build a TKL specifically for the PC because I play a lot of games on the PC and I'm playing them all on this old B Mini, which is fine, but I'd like the actual TKL gap here for the function keys and other stuff like that. So that's the one I'm also most interested in, but I think this will be my daily driver right now, at least for work, because it is just, it's absolutely just so pretty, and it looks really neat. And then I'll probably put together this lake as well, just because it's so fast to put together. It's more about lubing switches, but I think I'm gonna wait and try those new Holy Pandas that Massdrop is selling just to see if they're better than the Holy Pandas I made myself. So I might order some of those, throw them on that board, give it a shot. Yeah, God, it is really pretty. I actually kind of like it with the rainbow on, to be honest. I have never liked the default rainbow, but there's something about the all black. I actually kind of like it bleeding through. Looks kind of neat. I won't stick with it. I'll probably try to come close to this teal color that's in here and then mute it down to like, 5% if I even turn it on at all. I may not. I still like the TK. So yeah, TKLs, I totally get it. I totally get it. I think the thing that I've switched away from enjoying is just the baseline 60s, like the poker style 60s. I've gotten to the point where if it's not HHKB style, or if it doesn't have an interesting gimmick, I'd rather either go TKL 65, 75%, whatever, or HHKB, the plain standard 60% or whatever it is. I kind of lost the taste for. And I've built quite a few of them. Actually, no, I've only built 2, I guess. My dog is going crazy down there. But I think that's it for this one. Ended up being longer than I would have expected, mostly just because of the chit chat and stuff. So thank you guys so much for hanging around the whole time. And I'm gonna order I'm gonna order the QMX clips because I'd like to give them a shot and just see if miraculously it makes a difference. I don't think it's gonna solve it, but we'll see. We'll give it a shot. Yeah, so I'll put that one together at some point. I'll probably take a picture of it and maybe a sound test with the GMK caps on it and just see how it sounds by comparison. But it sounds really good. It feels really good. I'm looking forward to using it every day. That's why I wanted to stream it so badly. It's been so silly to put it off this long because I've just actually wanted to type on it. So let me know if you want me to send me. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll do me a favor. Actually, I don't have a good. I don't remember if YouTube. If you can send me a message or a comment, I'll contact you. That'd be totally cool. I'd love to take you up on it. I'll obviously pay for shipping and all that stuff. So, cool. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. It was fun. When I started this on a Saturday midday, I was a little afraid like not a human being would want to sit and watch keyboards, but I always underestimate other people's ability to be interested in the same minutia that I am. So, thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.